Hi folks, it's Professor Diffley, making another video here for Module 3, which you find here again in course content. So for Module 3, Chapter 2, this actual module contains materials that go beyond Chapter 2. As you can see listed here, moral luck, virtue theory, stoicism, and hedonism are the four big ethical views, ethical topics we're going to focus on this week. This is very important, especially virtue theory here, and hedonism to a lesser degree, but especially virtue theory. These are topics we are going to use throughout the course going ahead. So, and as we move ahead, for example, next chapter 3, we're going to learn about another school of thought. And then the following chapter, yet another. So deontological and utilitarianism. We'll get to those later. But all three of those, virtue theory and the ones in chapters 3 and 4, are going to be used throughout the course. So I'm going to ask you to compare and contrast them, apply them to different scenarios as we go ahead. So this is very important. Because there's so much in this one and it's important, you get 2 weeks to do this module. So as you can see down here highlighted, this module, Module 3, is open, will open September 16th, and you will have it due by the end of September 29th. So again, just about 2 full weeks to do this module. So all right, let's jump into this here. Obviously, click on there, start there. Learning objectives for Module 2. Module 3, Chapter 2, they're listed here. Again, if you can see, these are sort of like key terms. You should know the different topics here. Make sure I would write these out or, copy and paste them and be able to define the things here. A lot of this will appear in the slides and the videos, but just wanted to show you that anyway. So here is the assignments and reading. So you have to read Chapter 2. Obviously view the lecture slides and the notes that go with them. Watch all the required videos. There's a discussion board, as usual. Again, 12 hours between every post, 3 posts. Here you have 2 weeks to do that. So you also have a quiz on Module 3, and there's a journal exercise. The journal exercise, you can see, it's a critical thinking questions from the textbook. So they're page 23, 24 at the end of Chapter 2. Answer the question scenarios listed here, 2-1, 2-2, 2-4. You'll see in the book, that's how they pop up. Again, answer in your own words, that sort of thing. Chapter 2 lecture slides and the videos. So let's get into this quickly. Let's just look at the slides a bit here. So where are we at? We are at Module 3 again. Moral luck, virtue theory, ethics, stoicism, hedonism. So, moral luck, one of the first topic of this week. This is not in your textbook, so you need to rely on the videos that are in the required videos folder for Module 3. Very important. Watch these videos. The first video especially is really good because it actually has text in parts of the video to talk about the key terms that are here. You see these are moral luck video key terms. Control condition, resultant luck, circumstantial luck, and constitutive luck. Understand them, be able to define them. That is the point there. You'll see those in the videos. Again, make sure you know these. Control condition, just a brief overview on that. It's the concept that you're only responsible, ethically, morally responsible for things under your control. So that's the belief, that you only can be held responsible for what you control. So say you do something and it takes a turn that you could not have predicted, then you should not be responsible for that. So that's one idea. Then you also have, not everybody agrees with control conditions. Some people say if you do an action, you should be responsible for everything that could possibly happen, especially if you were negligent or criminal, something like that. You should be held responsible. That's one of the things the videos will look at. Then these different forms of what we call moral luck. We have resultant luck. Say you both do something, 2 people, you do the exact same thing. In one case, person gets hurt as a result of the actions. In another, you get lucky and nobody gets hurt. Should you get the same blame as the person who hurt someone, or should you be blamed equally? Again, you did something wrong. It just happened to be lucky that nobody got hurt this time. That's the idea. Circumstantial luck, along the same lines. This one is about what are the circumstances of what you did. Take criminal action for us all here. The difference between sometimes a murder and manslaughter could be the circumstances. So take this crime of passion, which is an actual legal term. Crime of passion. You are in the heat of the moment. You're so angry, so enraged. They often use the famous sort of example is this: is you walk in on your significant other, loved one, cheating with somebody else, and you kill the other person they're cheating with. You're blinded. All you saw was red. You're still you're still in trouble. But instead of murder, which requires you to have thought about it, right? Intentional and pre-intended. Here, you just acted. Still wrong, but you're not going to get murder. It'll probably be knocked down to manslaughter. Alternatively, you hear about your significant other cheating, and then you go and kill the other person. That's the circumstances. You did the same thing. You killed the cheater. But in one case, the circumstances, you were shocked into it. The other one, you were not. Should we really have differences of blame there? What do you think? That'll be the idea. Constitutive moral luck. This is the argument that we are, as people, products of things we cannot control. Our environment, our genetics, brain chemistry. So, but yet, no matter what, so maybe some people can't be held responsible. They didn't have certain things. You were raised differently. We don't really take that into account when we assign blame for things, even though these are things that people become the way they are based on the way they were raised, where they lived, the things they had to encounter, that sort of thing. We don't really give breaks based on that. We still say it was wrong. And the question is, do you agree with that? But that is constitutive luck there. Again, the videos go into more detail, but because these aren't in the text, I want to make sure I hit on those. So again, where are they? I'll show you here in the required videos for Module 3. You'll see here, I also have the key terms here. This one, again, like I said, is really good. I would make sure you watch this and take notes from it, because it will actually have some writing on the screen when it gets to definitions. This one's very good as well, the crash course one. This one goes into a little bit more of examples and things like that. So I'd watch them together if I was you. But definitely take your time and take notes on this first one. Okay, let me just talk about the other required videos real quick. This is Virtue Ethics 1. Again, I said it's very important for the class. It's in the book. There's 2 videos on it. It tells you it's really important. This first video here, defined, good, very quick definition of it. It's a minute 43, so it's a very quick definition. The video here goes into greater detail and covers everything that you need to know for Aristotle and virtue theory. The real goods, everything, eudaimonia, all this stuff. So make sure you take notes on this. It's in the slides, it's in the book, but very important there. So I'd focus on the crash course one for virtue theory. Very important, Stoicism. Stoicism is discussed in your book, but not very well. Actually, it's not really accurate what's in your book. So in the textbook, ignore the Stoicism. Use this video here only. Again, I cannot be clear, any more clear on that. Ignore what it says in the textbook about Stoicism. Use only the video here. That is it. And I'll talk about Stoicism when I get to it in the slides in a bit. And then hedonism. We're going to look at this. Hedonism is a good definition there. And then watch this short 4-minute video about hedonism and the experience machine. Quite simply, hedonism often means you only care about yourself, you only care about pleasure, and in any way you could, and experience, and having experiences. And the experience machine is a sort of ethical mind experiment, thought experiment about whether or not you could actually experience everything. Would it be right? You'll see the video. It's very good. Okay, so now let's jump back to the slides here. So we did moral luck. Let's just talk about the slides. We'll start. Where does this all start? In the Western tradition of ethics. Excuse me. It goes all the way back to Socrates, the ancient Greek the philosopher and teacher. So he believed that wisdom is virtue, right? The people who possess wisdom have virtue, and so that becomes the focus. What does it mean to be virtuous? What is virtue? Socrates is the first Western philosopher to make these his central area of study. Many others will continue to do this, but Socrates is really the first to try to figure out what is the right way to live, to be virtuous. He devoted his life to questioning people about their beliefs. He wanted people to see that we have our own biases, that what we think we know, we really don't know often. We just assume, we fill in the gaps. You know this today. People often presented with evidence that what they say is wrong, double down and say, no, they're right. They just don't accept it. They know they're right. They don't have any proof. You just feel it in your gut, which, not a very good way to go about things. But nonetheless, he's trying to get people to stop that. So what he did was the Socratic method of teaching through conversation. It's actually unrelenting questioning. Be thankful we don't do this anymore in teaching. I only had this once in law school from a very old professor, and it was, oh God, it could be terrifying. So the way it is, they're going to ask you questions constantly about everything you say. The response back from the teacher is going to be a question, going to get you to understand that you don't know, that you don't understand. Let's say literally the whole class, this could be an hour or two, they're just going to question you in front of everybody, and you're going to feel silly. It is scary. You're going to feel very bad about yourself. I've seen people cry and freak out from this. So I'd be glad we don't do it. But the whole point is to get you to critically think. We have other ways of critical thinking today than badgering you into submission. But nonetheless, just know this. This is a way of forcing people to admit that they did not, in fact, know what they assumed to know very well. I want you to really think about things. But again, that's where this all started from. Socrates said a few things here. The unexamined life is not worth living, he argued. This is something that many people believe, that the unexamined life is not worth living. You just go through life without examining what you're doing, why you're doing things. You're not really achieving much. You're not growing. You're not changing. You have to be critical of ourselves if we want to change, we want to get better, that sort of thing. He also said that the only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing. This confuses people sometimes, but this is a very true, I think, in my opinion. The only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing. That is what wisdom is. I mean, look at it this way. If you already believe that you know everything, you're never going to be open-minded. You're never going to be open to anything, new experiences, anything. Just knowing that you can always learn something. That when you think you're right, well, there might be more evidence out there later. Just being open-minded is key, and that's what true wisdom is. Being willing to be persuaded. And this isn't about being gullible because you don't know anything, but you want to understand, and that's what Socrates was getting at. So what is virtue then? Virtue associated with character, good judgment, ethical decision making, right? So you're a good person, you make good judgments about things, and you make ethical decisions. You do what's right. That's a person who's virtuous. Moral virtue, very similar. Moral virtue, though, is the habit of right desire. And as they put it, the disposition to make the right choices. What do we mean, habit of right desire? You want the right things. Very important. Moral virtue is wanting the right things, going after the right things in life, and then the disposition to actually make those choices. That's what we're talking about with moral virtue here. So again, moral virtue, the habit of right desire, wanting the right things in life, pursuing those, and then making the right choices to go after those and how you go after those. All right, well, that is the end of part 1 of this. I will, of these videos, I'll pick up on part 2 with the next slide.